Hey everybody, it's Bruno and B, where it can't all be serious. I'm here with my brand new friend, Tirzah. Tirzah, how are you today?
Fantastic. Thank you. How are you?
You know, a lot better now because I got a whole bunch of stuff in my offices upstairs that I'm trying to get rid of. So our little
Perfect.
thumbnail up here says barter with Zwapify. Okay,
Absolutely.
so where am I bringing my stuff?
All right. What the heck is a Zwapify? Well, about 2 years ago, I had the idea to start a bartering app, and I was actually going to call it Swap Shop. When I went to buy a domain name, there were none available in any variation. So I sat down with a couple of friends and we absolutely created the name Zwapify. We were inspired by Kijiji because what the heck is a Kijiji? So we thought, you know what, why don't we just make up a name too? So we made up Zwapify. It sounded kind of magical, which it truly is. You're turning one thing that you don't want into something else that you do want. So we thought it was fun, and that is the short version of where the name came from. So it's very confusing to people, but it also goes really well with my name. It's kind of like a tongue twister. Tirzah with Zwapify, so
You,
gets
you
people's
know, you, you
attention.
know, really interesting concept and take the mystery out of how we met. We met at recent Womenation run by one of our former guests, Heather Andrews. She's not lacking energy, is she? And there you are on page 134. It's like you're too young to remember the Simpson Sears catalog. Like you look like a model in here. Look at that.
I remember the catalog. My mom always had it, actually.
You really? I miss those catalogs. They're a lot of fun. But that's how we met. And again, being brutally honest, I was like blown away by your presentation. And you did such a great job. And we're going to get to kind of some of the more personal stuff if you want to. But bartering, that's kind of a newer concept to a lot of people out there that just kind of buy stuff on eBay and Kijiji and all that kind of stuff. So walk us through why, how, where people would even like give me an example, like what we can do with
For
this.
sure. Well, it's actually interesting because I was brought up swapping my whole life, and we can touch on that later. But there's been several people that have either I get the people that say they swap all the time, whether they're, lash techs and they swap with nail techs or massage therapists. Those kind of services often do swap naturally. But I have other people where they're like, oh, I heard about that, in the old days, and I've never done it before. So it seems to be one side of the fence or the other. But as far as why now, um, I really just think the world needs some good news at this point. And every time we open the news, every time we look at a newspaper, look through our social media, prices are going up, everything's going up. It's all bad news. And I really feel like this is just the good news that we've all been waiting for. It's an alternative to always needing money to get what you want and need. So there obviously are a few things you can't swap for, like gas and some groceries, but I will say that, you know, there's exceptions because I've traded many times for farm eggs, different things like that. So
Mhm.
for the things that you do need out of life, like, kids' birthday presents, I've had moms that have said, they were super stressed. They have an 8-year-old birthday party coming up. They couldn't afford anything, and they've been able to trade to get all the things for their kid's birthday party and had a fantastic party, and they were able to do that through bartering. So it's such a beautiful gift to the world, truly, and it's just a matter of me spreading awareness and somewhat educating people that have never done it before. So it's
What
pretty
did you
exciting.
what did you do before?
I was actually a paramedic, and then
Wow.
prior to that, I worked with my sister in interior design for about 8 years.
Wow. Like that's a really big switch. Just, did you drive the truck? Is that what you guys call it? Is it the
Yeah,
truck?
yeah, we call it the truck or the unit. Yeah,
The
we would take
unit.
turns. Yeah.
Oh my God. God bless you. Well, that's what you went to school for and everything like that, weren't you?
Mhm. Yes.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Like that's a big change. So I want to talk about okay, Zwapify is the name of the company. How do they get on the platform? What's the URL? It's probably Zwapify something.
Yeah, so if you just go to the App Store, you can look up Zwapify, Zwapify, or you can go to www.zwapify.ca, and there's the link for the Apple and Android version on our website.
Yeah, I immediately went to it because I'm not joking, is that I have so much stuff and it's like everybody else. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not shamelessly promoting you just because I think the product's really good and everything, but I mean, there's just so much you can get out of Marketplace on Facebook and Kijiji, and I don't know, it's kind of, I know it's great, but this is an extra spot because a lot of people like me and you, and I hope you're gonna share the story about the first time you swapped or you bartered. Um, it's there's so many things that I would be willing to do to get something and vice versa. People say, hey, you know what? Like I'm looking for snow removal for 1 month. So if I can find somebody to do that, I don't know, what should I give them? I don't know, whatever they want, right? So walk us through the first time you actually, it was so cool because you said you were shivering and everything. So go ahead.
Yeah. Well, when we met at Womanition, I was giving a speech about bartering your way to business success. And one of the stories that I told was the time that I approached my hairdresser. So I have bartered my whole life, but I hadn't for a little while. I'd kind of, I guess, forgotten about it, just gotten busy with life, had money, and it wasn't something on the forefront of my mind. But then I was on maternity leave with my second son and really wanted to get my hair done. But honestly, sometimes it can cost up to $500 to get it
Oh,
cut and colored. Like it's absurd. So I was like, I can't justify the money, and I wasn't gonna do it. And then I remembered what my dad had taught me, and he's the one that I learned to swap from. So I worked up the courage to approach my hairdresser, and I was honestly very nervous because when you are approaching any service provider, you know they're trying to make money for their family, and it can feel a bit rude, especially as a polite Canadian, to approach them and be like, hey, instead of me paying you, why don't we trade for something? But I did work up the courage to talk to her, and she was so excited. So the first time I traded with that hairdresser, we traded for half of a haircut, and I traded a whole bunch of baking, and I did
which
like
half did you
gourmet
get done?
cupcakes. Sorry,
Which half did you get done? It looks great.
just that half. So, but it saved me so much money and I was able to do it. And then the second time I traded with that exact hairdresser, she had a wedding around the corner. So I traded for a haircut plus some because I did like 100 cupcakes and a ton of cookies. Like it was the full thing. And she was so excited. So she didn't have to spend any money on her wedding baking. And I got a couple of free haircuts, well, free, but you know, traded. And obviously, the beautiful thing about it is my cost for the baking is not what I sell it for. And so even in the big picture, I am still putting out way less by trading than if I had to pay cash. So it's pretty exciting.
So Tirzah, like for what maybe is effortless for you to do, like cookies, is a complete nightmare for other people. So I guess a lot of our viewers are now going to go, whoa, I can get all this stuff done. But isn't that true? Like for you to make cookies is not that big of a deal, but getting your $7,000 hair done, I mean,
Well, yeah, exactly. And we all have skills. Like I can't do, there's so many things I don't have the skill in, but there are a lot of people that do. And that's where the beauty of swapping comes in, just utilizing the people in your community and their skills and then just trading. Like it does date back to like thousands of years ago. That's how people survived, just relying on their communities and trading. So it's beautiful and just utilizing everyone's gifts really.
you know what? We don't have to go back thousands of years, but do you mind talking about where you learned the skills and what was really swapped out of your house, I guess, and who inspired you?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So my dad, he had a bike shop in Bentley, which at the time was less than 1,000 people, teeny little town in the middle of nowhere. And he was so good with his customers. He would spend hours with one customer, just incredible businessman. People came from all over Canada, literally, to buy bicycles from him in this teeny little town. And the other thing that he loved was swapping and bartering. So he often would come home from work at the end of the day and be like, look what I got on trade. And it just absolutely lit him up. He was so excited. So since we were tiny kids, we had seen him trading. And it's kind of funny. I always joke that my brothers and I are not very nice kids because we would never share with each other. We would always just trade. So if I wanted one of their toys, it was never, sure, I'll share with you. It was, well, what do you got to trade me? So after a while, it it was difficult to keep track of whose toys were whose because we would trade them back and forth so many times. But we just did it naturally as children, having seen our dad do that. And I remember one year he was featured on CTV News, and when the reporter asked, "What's the strangest thing you've ever taken on trade?" he just grinned and he's like, "Probably a pig." So really, people say that the sky is the limit, but honestly with swapping, like not even the sky is the limit, because there's no variation that, you know, not all the variations of swapping have been done yet. Like who would have thought of trading a bicycle for a pig? But he fed his family by doing that. So
Right.
it's pretty incredible.
Well, you know, before we get on to a couple other things, I'm going to share something because we joke around. We say, can we swap our kids when they're bad?
Yeah.
Here's a story for you. I thought of you right away because that's the, you know, natural sarcastic. I'm sure you heard that before. Can I swap my kids? Can I swap my, you know, wife or anything like that, or my husband, right? But here's something for you, and then I want you to look it up so you can get complete authenticity, because I'm not making it up. But as soon as you said that, somebody in the crowd that I was sitting with goes, "I'd swap my husband." Remember our womanition? They're all women, right? He goes,
Yeah.
"I'd swap my husband for a pig," or something like that, right? Because you were making the presentation. So I thought it was funny. And but in 1972 or 73, I'm a big New York Yankees fan, as everybody knows. Like this is Caitlin and Adam gave me this. Look at that, right? So the New York Yankees, they had two players, Mike Kekich and Fritz Peterson. Look it up. And they swapped families. Can you believe that? So they swapped wives and kids. And one of them stayed together. I think Fritz Peterson. I don't know. I'm not going to say that, but and the other ones broke up. But they completely switched
Like
families.
legit. Oh
Yeah,
my goodness.
total legit. And this was like crazy. So the families both lived in wherever, New Jersey, I think, not Queens, and like it made national news and everything. So it was probably 72, 73. I barely remember, but I read about it and I thought that was weird. And as soon as they said I'd swap my husband for a pig, I thought of the Fritz Peterson, Mike Kekich thing. But I want to go back to something a little bit more serious. But you also volunteer. This is a business, I guess, show. We talk about whatever we want. But you mentioned it was pretty tough to get this thing going. So what did you do like a couple of years into it? Because it took you a couple of years to get this. People think it's easy to use the app. It's pretty tough to build one, I guess.
To build one, oh my goodness.
Would you ever do it again?
From the beginning.
It's killer to do it, eh?
It is. It would have been nice to know what was coming, but I guess maybe I wouldn't have started. So when I first had the idea, I was initially going to build a website, and I thought, you know what, I can get this off the ground in like a month. It was going to be fantastic. And then, right? Very naive of me. Anyway, I was hoping, like I was on maternity leave when I had the idea. And when I looked at how much, I called a few website designers and asked how much it would cost to create this thing that I wanted to make. And it had to be, you know, have a messaging system within it. Like it was be quite complex. I was told about $7,000. And I honestly felt like I got kicked in the guts. Like I didn't have that much money laying around. Like I said, on mat leave, it was not a great time. And my first thought was, I guess that's it. Like I don't have the money. I can't do this. And when I had that thought, I felt sick to my stomach. Like I seriously could have puked. I'm like, no, like I know I have to do something with this. It was such an inspired idea. Like I don't take credit for the idea. It's a genius idea and it was completely inspired. Like the universe gave it to me, whatever you want to call it. It was very inspired. And so the thought of not moving forward with it made me feel ill. So I'm like, okay, I don't know how this is going to work out, but it has to somehow. So I pushed through and ended up chatting with, well, this lady I had never talked to before. She's like, so what are you doing these days? I'm like, well, I actually had this idea for a business. She's like, do you want an investor? I'm like, yes, I do. Like we'd never talked before. Like it was so out of the blue. And she's now become one of my closest friends and my mentor. Like she's an incredible person. Actually, she drove like 2 hours just to watch me at the event and then had to leave because there were kids, but she drove that whole time just to see me and then left. She's incredible. Anyway, so I had that investor and then I had another investor come up and it all just came together. But the reason it took that almost 2 years was initially I was going to do a website. So I had someone start working on a website and then they fell off the planet with my money. and just disappeared. So I started from scratch and ended up working with a marketing team in High River, which they're amazing, freshly pressed, and actually in High River have saved my bacon. And in the big picture, knowing what has happened, I realized, you know what, I was going to end up with a product that wasn't going to be good enough, wasn't going to be what I needed, wasn't going to function properly. So that first fellow that I had been working with, it wouldn't have worked out anyway. So I'm very thankful. I know everything. One of my favorite quotes is everything is always working out for me. So trusting that happened for, I know it happened for a reason. And so when we started again, I was like, you know what, I really just need an app. I don't need a website. So let's do it right the first time. And what was supposed to take, 4 months took like 8 months, and it just, everything took longer. But it was that or launch with a product that wasn't quite functioning properly, and that just wasn't an option. So that's why it's taken almost 2 years.
Good for you. You survived. That's the whole thing. And I know you shared a whole bunch of stuff about bank accounts and balances. And I would love to tell you, I have no idea what you're talking about, but when you're starting bootstrapping and boy, oh boy, and then you get your groove, right? You get your groove and you find the right developer, the right people. And like you said, everything happens, right? So I love that saying. Do you mind? Then we're going to move on to something else. Okay. Do you mind talking about your launch? Because that kind of gave everybody, it was beautiful that you launched, but it gave everybody kind of the feeling like I got goosebumps. So do you mind sharing that with people?
No, I'm fine sharing it. Yeah, it's a very special story and I'm happy to share it. So in the whole 2 years, there was something inside of me that had told me like it's going to launch on a really special day. And I thought, with my history with my dad and how much he loves swapping, I thought maybe it would launch on his birthday or something like that. And I'd always wondered like what day will it be? So on August 31st, I got an email from the app stores saying that my submission was accepted for release. It was an incredible day. And I had waited so long for that moment. I literally just fell to the kitchen floor and started sobbing. Like it just relief. And I felt like I had arrived. And the funny thing is like literally it's just the starting point, but it took me so long to get to that starting point. And we had sons with the same name. So Dominic and Sawyer came running to check on me and they're like, what's wrong? And I was just sobbing. And I told Dominic, I'm like, this is the best day of my life. Like this is just such a great day. And that was August 31st of this year. And then a few hours later, I opened a voice message from my mom. And she said that she was at the hospital with my dad and that they told her to gather the family and I needed to call her right away. And my dad had taken a turn for the worse. He had Lyme disease. He had some brain damage from the Lyme disease, likely some form of dementia, but he was 68 years old and just went downhill very quickly. So young. And so on the same day, my mom called me and said, my dad's dying and that I better hurry up and come. And because I do trust in, the universe working everything out, I wasn't angry, but I was very confused. Like I knew it would be a special day, but why today? Why today of all days? Because I don't even have words hardly. And so it took me a while, and it's not even been a while. It's not even been 2 months, but it took me quite a while to figure out why it was that day. And so I went down to see him and spent a week with him, and he ended up lasting for 15 days. And on September 15th, he passed away. And the night before I had stayed at the hospital with him, I just couldn't bear the thought of leaving him and everyone else had to go home. And so I stayed with him by myself. And then on the night that he passed, my one brother stayed with me. And so we were both sleeping. And then my brother just shook me on the shoulder and he's like, he's gone. And anyway, so I didn't understand the timing. And that friend that I mentioned that had initially been my first investor, I was chatting with her and she's like, you know what? I think it's your inheritance from your dad. And that just hit me so hard. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what it is. So it was his parting gift to me and it's my inheritance from him. And he would have used the app more than anyone else. I know that. He loved bartering. It lit him up. He got so excited. And the one thing that he told us kids He said, the only rule that I have for you is make sure that it's fair for everybody involved. So he was a very honest man. He never would scam people. Like, he would make sure they got a good deal and he got a good deal. And so his rule was just make sure it's a win-win for everybody. And that is really the heart behind Zwapify, just making sure everybody is succeeding. Like that hairdresser, she got baking for her wedding, which can cost hundreds of dollars. And I got a haircut for nothing, which could cost hundreds of dollars. So it's so beautiful. It's just bartering, but it's so much more than just bartering to me. So
Well, the thing is, when I heard that story, and I was sitting with somebody and I turned and I said, that is a blessed product or service or business because of that, because they can't take that away. And I think, who knows, and I'm trying to justify, I could never imagine that, but it was almost like like you said, I think at some point you said he held on long enough for me to figure this out, because it could happen anytime. And you know what, God bless you. And I really think no matter what happens, this is a blessed project for you. It happened for a reason. You're going to change a lot of people's lives. So what I want to do is people know what you do, a little bit about you. And I always say people want to know the person. That's the whole kit and caboodle. So it was a really tough part of my show. Did you study? You didn't study. Tirzah. Okay, here we go. We call this rapid fire. You ready to go?
Okay.
Okay. Favorite food? Cookies. No.
Sushi.
Sushi. Okay, this is like 7 in a row people pick sushi. I'm missing out, Does it come with meatballs and pasta? No. Can you get sushi pizza? Okay. Favorite restaurant? And it doesn't have to be here.
A restaurant in Hawaii that made homemade noodles, like right in front of you. I don't remember what it was called, but
Which
we
island?
went there on a honeymoon multiple times.
Which island was it?
Honolulu, I believe.
Oh, very nice. You guys went there. Nice spot. Okay. Favorite movie?
Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. It's an old one.
How about actor? Man or woman?
Ooh. Oh, I can picture the face. Oh, it used to always use it always used to be Channing Tatum when I was a kid, and I like the dance movies and stuff. It was fun.
Oh, that's cool. So favorite musical band?
I would just say Carrie Underwood. Probably that's not a band per se, but I really love her music.
Yeah, that's a good one. So you're a country fan?
Yeah.
Favorite song?
Over the Rainbow, Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
Ooh, which version? The original one?
I like the original, yeah.
Oh my God, that's a great song. Little story, my kids will kill me, but part of their whatever, okay, when they were growing up, when I say whatever, we tried, distract them. I got them to learn every word of those 3 songs, if, for the Straw Man and the Tin Man and the Lion.
Yeah.
So sometimes we'd be walking somewhere and we'd have little competitions who could recite that, and they knew them by heart. It was unbelievable. And the one thing was, I don't want to think, they didn't want to sing that song, right? Because it was like it wasn't cool, right? You know what I mean? For boys, right? So they wanted to be the Tin Man or the Lion, right? So that's fun. That's awesome. So somewhere that you've traveled that's your favorite place?
Japan. I went there twice for a month each time and absolutely love it.
Where do you want to go that you haven't been to?
Anywhere with a beach.
Ooh.
Honestly,
Where's your,
I'm open to.
Really? So you're a beach person? I love the beach.
Yeah.
I could live on the beach.
I'm going to live on the beach one day.
So somebody that you would love to meet that's alive.
Sarah, the owner of Spanx. I don't remember her last name. She invented Spanx, created Spanx. She is one of my idols. Like, I look up to her. She's an incredible woman. Started from the ground up and has turned her business into an incredible thing, but stayed such a beautiful human the whole way. I love her. So I'm going to meet her one day.
Good for you. Somebody that's passed away, unfortunately, that you would like to meet all time. History of time.
My grandpa, my dad's dead. I think we would have got along really well. And I was, I think, 1 when he passed, so I don't remember.
Oh, what would you ask him?
I just want to go hunting with him. That is my dad's and my thing, and we connected over that so much. And his dad and him hunted and fished, and yeah, it's really special to us.
That's great. I love that because I'll tell you one thing, Tirzah, that's my thing. Is that I would love to meet my grandparent, like great, like 50 of them down the road. You know what I mean? Who knows, right? Cool. So do you follow sports? You don't have a favorite sports team or athlete?
No, okay, no.
Good for you.
Sorry.
You're in business. You know what I find? Most people are in business don't follow sports. Neither do I too much. I follow baseball a little bit. So here's your chance to ask me one question. Not too hard, but you can ask me any question you want. Okay.
What is the one piece of advice you wish someone would have given you when you were starting that would have made a difference or made the journey?
Starting business?
Yes.
Say no.
Okay.
And by saying no, a lot of, see, you can tell I thought about this, even though you didn't give me this, right? Because I do have a training academy. And one of them is the sales certificate course. And as much as it's about selling, the people always walk out and say, you taught me how to say no. Because you know what happens when you start saying no? And I have three wonderful partners in Megapix, and you know Caitlin and Adam, obviously, from Enta. They're our production partners. And one of my partners, I always bring her to meet people. And we call it the BS meters, bullshit meter. And I don't know what it is, but I think, I don't want to get in trouble these days, but I think women have a better way with the bullshit meter. I don't know, right? Maybe we're just too energetic, like go-getter, like, going 100 miles an hour. Our guys have our brains messed up. And I think that one thing I learned from my partner Miranda is that she's okay saying no if she's uncomfortable, business-wise, you know what I mean? And she's like, yeah, maybe not right now. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Maybe this, maybe that. No, I don't think so. That is what I really suggest, is that if it doesn't make sense to you, say no. If the candidate to come and work for you, something. So I think that's in a nutshell, is understanding yourself, your business, your process well enough to say no, so you can say yes to the better fit for your business, right? So I think that's a good question. Thank you. That's kind of my answer. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was a good answer. I appreciate that.
I wish I would have said no more often, because I fell for so, and I people who watch my show, they know I always say, which is not a great thing in business, I'm cursed with my mom's heart, right? But you toughen up. You toughen up. My dad was a really good business person, and you kind of toughen up because you have to. People are relying on you. Like, you have your investors, and you have your family, and you have Sawyer and Dominic, so you can't mess around. I think I should have said no way more times, because my yeses really outweighed all my nos. Like, I would take in anybody and help them out. Doesn't work out all the time, but that's awesome. That was a great question. Tirzah, did you have fun?
That was awesome. I really enjoyed this. I love your energy. Okay? Like you said at the event, it was fantastic to connect with you. So
yeah, I was over the top impressed with what you're doing. And here's your card. See right here. See, I can't lie. So we're going to put all the information underneath the video. Everybody knows how this works these days. How do they get in touch with you? How do they start selling and moving and shaking?
Yeah, well, honestly, just head to the App Store and download the app. It's free. It's the best yes you'll ever give yourself. And it's kind of like Marketplace or Kijiji. You just scroll through, see what people have, click on their posts, see what they're looking for, and find people to connect with in your area. And then the other thing I've really been saying it to people is make sure you share it, and not just I want to promote my business, but if you're sharing this with your neighbors and with your service providers, now all of a sudden your lash tech or your mechanic or your plumber is going to be on Zwapify, and next time you need something, they're going to be there for you when you want to trade something. So share it to help yourself out, honestly.
Oh, honestly, you have no idea how much I appreciate that, because that's something that I had no idea. And so maybe I can swap some of the Spotify downloads on our new band song. We'll see. But anyways, Tirzah, promise you'll come back and do it I'd love to catch up in a year or something. Well, I'm sure we'll talk before that, but promise you'll come back. I wish you all the best. You have no idea how much you've touched everybody at that presentation at Womanition. So God bless you. It's rock and roll time for you. I can feel it. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bruno. Appreciate
All
it.
right. We'll see everybody next time.